Hi y'all, Shane here at Last 67. Doing some more work on the Brummbar. Uh, just gonna spend a little bit of the evening now working on this. Just picking up where we left off. This add is on the rear plates and front bow, all simmered, which is really cool. Uh, I'm going to continue now adding the mounts for the tow hitch and various other suspension arm mounts and what have you. So I need screw A. We're getting thunder here, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's a very humid day and we're trying to get a bit of thunder now, so I might try to get a big downpour any minute now. All the kids on the road are freaking out right now, which is hilarious. I remember then I used to be terrified of thunder as well, so it wasn't that long ago. Okay, so let's continue. So I was watching Chris and Alex Modeling's live chat. Unfortunately I couldn't join. I wanted to join it, but I have family over at the moment and the house was a bit chaotic and I couldn't get out to the shed, so it was no real point. But well done you two. Really enjoy your chats as you work. And keep it up. So today, or yesterday, was the 70th anniversary of D-Day, and some of the lads, rightly so, did tribute videos, you know, just like talking about it and the importance of it, not just from a hobby, or from a history point of view, but from a human history point of view, if you will. And Cohen and Lenny and all them brought it up just to tribute and to honour those who 70 years ago risked it all so others could have a better standard, a better life, and kind of get them freedom. I do that in inverted commas because, well, like, I don't really believe democracy is in any way more free than one of those alternatives or authoritarianships. And that's not really conspiracy or anything like that, it's just freedom's really, that whole like liberty and freedom thing I always kind of find is a bit of an illusion, but that's fair enough there. But these men these men and women, because there was women, many thousands of women involved as well, so they may not have been combatants, they still played a very important part in the invasion, such as intelligence, signals, logistics, medical. Without them, a lot of it would not have been possible. But they went and they did an incredibly difficult job. Tens of thousands of them were killed and wounded doing it. And Europe would be a very different place today if they hadn't. I do wholeheartedly believe that. And though it seems such a long time ago, you know, we should still kind of think about them, care about them, empathise with them, because we owe them a great deal. They didn't have to go there. Those guys who landed on them beaches didn't have to be there. They did it because they had a sense of duty and responsibility. That they wanted to participate in a world. They wanted to participate in the world in which they lived, and they wanted to make it the best place possible. And I think that was an incredibly noble thing. A lot of these people, a lot of the men who landed were young men, 18, 19-year-olds, and they still possessed all the courage we have come to kind of expect of them in a way. But it was very easy to forget everything they've done, and I don't believe we ever should. But again, it's important too that we do not forget the Germans either. As Cohen said, most Germans were good Germans. You know what I mean? Not all of them were Nazi. In fact, only a small proportion of them were, but unfortunately that small proportion carried out atrocities that tarnished the rest, and even worse still, they often were in positions of power that would drag the guys who really did not want to be a part of that type of, well, they didn't want to shame themselves for that type of dishonourable conduct, but because these guys were in a position of power, they more or less forced the rest of the army and stuff to follow through, or to follow suit with them. But it's not fair to brandish all German soldiers with the same brush, you know? 'Cause that's what they were just soldiers, and like, I don't really agree with the whole thing, they're just following orders on, which I know is partly, like, that's what they were doing, but I tend to see it from a slightly different way, that they're just doing their jobs, you know. Like, I always find the whole thing, oh, they're just following their orders, as, well, you're kind of making it sound that they're unaware of what's happening. Well, no, they weren't stupid, they knew a lot of the stuff that they were being asked to do was not really the most honourable of conduct for a soldier. They weren't sociopaths, like, they knew just how difficult what they were being asked to do. But what they really were doing was they were just doing their jobs. They were soldiers, and they were asked to defend this foreign country because they were made to believe that the fate of Normandy was directly in line with the fate of Germany, which in many ways it was. The reason why many of the Germans fought so harshly and with such ferocity in Normandy was simple. It was the fact that they were well aware that their homeland is next. So even if they weren't particularly Nazi sympathetic, they're still fighting for home, because they knew that now that the Allies have landed on the mainland, their homeland is next. So that would, of course, create a pretty strong resolve to defend their homes, you know. And I believe that's, like, you know, I mean, they did, and like, they fought with incredible professionalism and courage against overwhelming odds, as much as the Allies did as well. You know, the Allies had that clarity of purpose that, you know, I mean, we're the good guys. We're going in to stop tyranny, to prevent the mass genocide of an entire race of people. Now, I don't know how much the average soldier would have been aware of the death camps, and I don't often like bringing them up in the same context, because, like, to me they're different. They're very different situations. But for the Germans, they knew that, like, this faraway country was going to kill them, and they still went, you know. And I believe that it's important that we don't honor one and demonize the other. We need to kind of see them in fair and unbiased lights for both Allied and German. In that case, then what we do is we prevent it from ever happening again. Because the day we forget, and the day we sugarcoat the past by censoring, just like, you know, I often talk to some of the lads about this, about, you know, omitting the swastika for model making and crap like that. I'm 100% against that, for a simple fact being, it's not because I'm a Nazi sympathiser or any bullshit like that. It's the fact that when you start taking elements out of history, you are creating the opportunity through ignorance for it to return. And I believe that we need to take the collective experience of Normandy and Overlord, Operation Neptune, and learn from it, from every side possible, from every point of view, from every angle. And that means that 30 years from now, or whatever, another generation of young people won't have to land on a different beach and do the same job again. Because this time, if we do it with today's technology, there'll be no winners. It'll be just annihilation. And I wholeheartedly think that should never be allowed to happen. So yeah, I was very happy to see that people were giving these brave men and women their just thoughts and remembrance, you know. So yeah, so that's that. I didn't really see that much of the commemorations. There wasn't all that much shown on the telly. In my house, I'm the only guy in the house. This is my mum and my sister. So all I want to watch on the telly is the last thing, and unless it's some stupid bloody reality TV where you can literally feel your brain cells fucking dying while watching, they don't want to know. Whereas like I'm gonna go, well, like these are about men, real men and women, who have true stories of real experience, but you'd rather watch a bunch of bloody morons on Channel 4 bloody making shit talk over a silly dinner party as they try to bitch and backstab each other, you know? I don't understand modern society. I really don't. I honestly do believe at times, because I was talking to another person and like they agreed like that. They do honestly believe that they were meant for a different century where people actually had a sense of honour and decorum. I honestly believe that has been lost. And that has been down to people just don't want to be individual anymore. We just want to sit there, watch our mass-produced shows that jam an ideal down our throats. And bearing in mind, I did a media course. I understand how easy it is for the media to show a certain perspective, market it as the only perspective that's right, and watch the masses gobble it up. And I honestly do believe people, for the most part, and I don't really include anyone who watches my channel because you fall into the other category of people that have a thing called common sense, individualism and intelligence, but I do believe the way it's going now, people are getting more and more stupid. And I believe it's down to these stupid fucking come dine with me's, master chefs, celebrity master chef, Klingon master chef, whatever, you know. We're taking away the individualism from society. You all need to conform now, and like, just to think of those men and women who landed on them beaches, well, the men who landed on them beaches 70 years ago, they did not get cut in pieces for machine guns for that, like, that is not what they give their lives for. They give their lives for Europe to have a second chance, and we are fucking it up. Just like in Ukraine and all that, you know. I'm not too pushed on the whole thing with Syria. I think Europe should stay the hell out of the Syrian thing, because that is not what it seems. From what I've read, it's not as black and white. It's not just a civil war. Whereas Ukraine, however, that's a very different story. I don't believe Europe should do any type of military intervention, because, well, then it will be sparking the next big war, and so let's not do that. But it's a little bit more, as it appears, at least so it seems, that it is actually just a people's revolution trying to get their freedoms, you know. Whereas Syria seems to be more of it started off as a revolution and then became, well, a terrorist-fueled cesspit, really. Because anyone who goes in there will have to fight both sides, not just the Iran and the Syrian government, but I can imagine I can see the so-called freedom fighters turning on. Well, they've actually fired on the UN on numerous occasions. So anyone who often goes, "Oh, we should go into Syria," it's like, yeah, you can go in on your own. because that is one place we really do not want to be. Where's Sprooby? Where are you? Yeah, I'm in a bit of a ranty mood if you haven't noticed. So it should be interesting to see what bullshit I come up with. But it's my channel and I take all the responsibility that goes along with what I say. So yeah, it's just I believe it's an interesting world, and I just don't like when mass media and social networking trends tend to dictate how people think and how they live their lives. I think it's an awful shame and a waste. You know what I mean? There's enough oxygen thieves in the world as it is. Let's not add to it. Anyway, let's get on to some model making topics, shall we? So I've been watching a few videos and been watching a lot of Panzerjäger stuff. I really like his work. Real cool style of building and really nice chap as well. Also been watching a lot of Chris and Alex modelling. The model making duo, father and son team. They are funny. I love watching their live shows because it's funny. Like, they're a great bunch and they're a great sense of humour, the two of them. And I really recommend, if you haven't watched their live videos, I so strongly recommend you do. You learn a lot. They're good to listen to while you're building. And they'll probably let you join in and say hello too if you wanted to. I'm not going to say it like that because it's not my place, but if they know you, do it at least. But they are great model makers to do. And it's good to see that not only is it heartwarming in a way, but it's good to see the next generation of model makers are in the safest of hands. Because Alex is one hell of a model maker. Sorry, I know the model's off camera. He's a, like, you know what I mean, him, Ben and all them, like, they're great model makers with such good enthusiasm, and they're not scared to build models, you know, because I can imagine some kids, you know what I mean, their mates don't do it, so they're kind of reluctant to go down that route just in case they get the piss taken out of them or some bullshit like that, you know. I mean, because kids these days have become very fickle in a way, and they don't want to. So we've made it kind of so that it's almost a bad thing to have a personality now. But it's good to see this younger generation with such enthusiasm and skill. So I believe our hobby is quite safe. It's not going to disappear anytime soon. Like, even like, I consider myself at the younger spectrum of modelers too. Like, I know I'm 23, so I'm not that young. I'm not in the same age group as Panzermeister or any of them. I know they're quite a bit younger than I am. But like, there's no real middle ground. Like, I don't know there's that many other model makers in their early 20s. Like, I haven't come across any. There probably is. Like, I just haven't come across many. So, but these new fellas, well, they're not new fellas. It's been on for a long time. Most of them have built more models than I have. The younger chaps are, Jesus, yeah. It's exciting. It's exciting to see it. It's exciting for the hobby. It's very hopeful, if you know what I mean, that the future is bright, and that is the best news a model maker can have. Because, you know what I mean, there is a lot. And we're back. Sorry, there, my back, she kicked like crap out on me. But as I was saying, like, the hobby is in a very good place. You know, we have a lot of young modelers coming in with great talent, great enthusiasm, and as long as that continues to happen, we're fine. I would kind of notice there is a bit of saber rattling going. Oh, we're a dying breed. We are not. We're not even endangered. Because model makers have always been niched. I know, like, you know, if you think about it in the 60s, 70s and 80s, like when my parents, like my father and uncle were growing up, they built models constantly, like Airfix, when you bought your Airfix kit every week and all this, because they were telling me. But bearing in mind too, very few of them would keep it on for more than a year or two, you know what I mean, that you built for a while and now is this. And then you might return to the hobby a couple of years later, but that's really it, like, you know what I mean, it was just built because that's where everybody else did, there was something else to do. It's just like kids now with many other sports and hobbies that they try it for a while because it's kind of popular, and then they find it's not for them, and then they find what actually is their passions. But the other, like the model makers that were at it constantly, well, they were always kind of a small bunch of guys anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I can't seeing it being like, oh, all the modelers in the 60s, or all these guys who built models in the 70s and 80s and all that, were all like constantly at it, and like they stuck at it, and all of a sudden they just stopped. For most of them, I imagine, it was just a passing interest, you know. So like, the hobby has always had a solid, but maybe small number of model makers, and it's just the way it goes. So. And we mustn't really be scared of that. It's just a part of our hobby. It's a part of what kind of makes us special, what sets us apart, you know. I don't mean like in a cliquey way, well, maybe I do, but it's what makes us different from all the online gamers. I'm not shitting on the gamers either. I'm one myself, but there's millions of them. There's only thousands of us. And, you know what I mean, like when I'm talking to people and I tell them I'm a model maker, they do find it quite interesting. They're like, oh, what's that do? And like, because, you know, you take one look at me and I'm not really the most geeky looking of guys, you know? Not at first glance, and especially from the way I speak, you know? I swear too much to be, oh, that kind of geeky or nerdy. I don't sound all that intelligent until you engage me on topic, like. And, you know, people are interested because I feel that, like, their perception of what a model maker is they don't have anything to base it on. And it's interesting, and, like, I think that's one of the nicest things about hobby, is that you feel individualism. And we should always kind of say that we're not just model makers, we're artists. And, like, that's a wonderful thing to have, because this is art. This is more of a conceptual piece here, you know, kind of modern art, post-90s. But more so, it's just that it is an art form. I know some model makers don't see it that way, which I never really understood how can they not. But again, I suppose they just don't. And I can imagine some conventional artists probably going, oh, that's not, no, it's not canvas, blah, 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 blah. But actually, it is. Because 100 of us could build the same model like this Brummbar here and have 100 different results. Each fake will not look the same. Because our styles, which is our artistic styles, will differ. And that's what makes the hobby so interesting, so unique, because you can always tell, you can tell a little bit about the person by how, like, you know what I mean, like, oh, like, do they like the drama, do they like telling the story, or do they like recreating a piece of history? Are they subjective, do they just like the lines of the vehicle? You can tell a lot by, like, their perception, by how they build, you know? I mean, like, for myself, I like telling stories. I don't always go for the most accurate of things. I don't invest the money and time into making incredibly accurate models. This is close to representation as I can, while still in capturing the essence of that vehicle. And that's one of the most important things. And it's something that me and Carlos Mendez talked about quite a bit, because he's an artist as well, not just on plastic but on canvas. So yeah, so I was talking to Carlos about it, and like we were talking about the artistic element of the model making, which isn't as embraced by many modelers that we talked about. And like, that's not true to anyone, but as a hobby as a whole, you know, like, you must realise is that we don't paint, like how we weather a vehicle and paint a vehicle, that is actually artistic representation. It's creativity. You're trying to capture the essence. A vehicle doesn't highlight the way we highlight them, you know. A tank is a monotoned vehicle, really, like, you know, it doesn't have all these different shades of green unless it's incredibly weathered and battered, but for the most part they don't. And you would think I'm talking on my arse. Next time you're at a show or something and there's an armoured vehicle, look at it, and then look at your model. They don't match. Because the eye perceives things differently to reality. And this allows us quite a little bit of leeway to actually experiment, and that's important, you know. Getting all the rivets right is important. Again, it is, because we are model makers, and, like, you know, we do want to get as close as we can. But that's down to a personal taste. and that's more at the domain of the rivet counter. And like the true rivet counter is just someone who is passionate about the topic, and he goes, well, I like this tank, I like this plane, it means something to me, it's iconic to me, so I want to do it the most justice. So if it means counting the rivets on the side of a turret or the side of a fuselage to satisfy that that desire to do that topic justice, and that's completely fine, and it should be always encouraged, because that's an art in itself. It's a technical art, but it's an art nonetheless, because it shows commitment of that model maker to wanting to capture the essence of the vehicle in the way that they feel it should be. And like a true rivet counter, because we often kind of shit on rivet counters a little bit. We often kind of go, oh, they're jerks, or they're this and that. Well, no. As Cohen so rightly said a few weeks back, a rivet counter is actually important and integral to the hobby. Yes, they are a minority for the most part, but the true rivet counter does not attack your work, does not attack you, and does not ridicule you if something is incorrect. They merely draw your attention to it and go, well, check this out, or this wheel is the wrong type for that thing. And they're not doing it to be smart arses. They're doing it just because they presume that you may have missed something and you may not be unaware. They're simply trying to educate you. And I always found with the true rivet counters, they will do anything they can to help you. Well, within reason at least. Do you know what I mean? Like if you ask for like advice, they'll normally give it because it's their passion. They enjoy it. But any of the other type of rivet counter, which is the one that gives everybody has the wrong, like gives the rest of them the bad name. And this is the person has the ego. And you had them in Star Trek. You even had them in fucking Magic the Gathering. Like I played a little bit of Magic. I stopped playing there about a year ago because I couldn't get over the ego of some of these guys and the snidiness in a little way. And like, you know what I mean? It's just like, lads, it's a card game. You know what I mean? If you fucking fork out 30-40 euros, and I know people will fork out more for Magic cards, it doesn't make you superior. It just makes you committed, or in my mind, a little bit mad. But and that's, to me, that's a rivet counter is in a way that it's their ego, and their ego combines with their OCD to make them a very difficult person to approach. Now, I have not come across that type of rivet counter on our community online. I have on forums in the past. I've come across them on Armorama a couple of times, because that is like rivet counter central, and they are incredibly harsh. From what I found, like they're very quick to not ridicule, but just look for the mistakes rather than the pros, you know. And like that's the type of rivet counter I have a problem with, because they're almost to the point of trolling, and that's there to satisfy their superiority complex, you know what I mean? But irregardless, they're like that in all their walks of life. It's not just in model making. If they were fishermen, they do the same. If they were carpenters, they would be the same. It hardly matters, you know. It just happens to be in the technical element of our hobby, and it kind of, in a way, they find that empowers them to talk down on other model makers, which I think is completely despicable. If you have your knowledge, as long as you give it in a constructive manner, fine. Just like, you know what I mean, I don't want to start naming names because I don't want to upset people, but like, just like a lot of the lads who are self-confessed rivet counters, and they do their best to help you, you know what I mean? They're like, okay, watch out for this type of smoke discharger wasn't used, but if you look in the kit, it's not numbered, but it's in the kit. It's this part here, and you can just swap it out for that, and then you have a perfect. And to me, that's brilliant, because that, first, it strengthens the community. It strengthens communication between the community, and it's just a generally awesome thing to do. You know, that you're helping out your fellow model makers by sharing your knowledge, and you're not cutting them down. You're trying to empower them, and you're trying to add to their building experience. So there is a difference, you know. Now, so like that's like, no, I've encountered a couple of rivet counters on model shows, and that's why I haven't attended a model show in almost 4 years. Is that I had a very negative experience at a model show in Dublin once, and it kind of actually threw me off. I didn't build the model for about 6 months after it. Like I didn't enter a piece. I was like 16. No, I wasn't. I was a little bit older. I was 18. Yeah, 4 years ago. And I was about 17 or 18, so it was about 4 or 5 years ago. And I was very excited to enter something. Didn't expect to win because I was still learning. I still don't expect to win even now, so I'm still learning. I still have a long way to go before I can really feel comfortable competing. And I don't think I ever really will, you know. And some judge kind of had to go at me for some fucking stupid reason. I think it's because my dad at the time commented to one of them that it's kind of funny how only club members are winning. And like at the time I wasn't too impressed at him for saying that to them, but he did have a point. Though I didn't really see it like that at the time, I was just enjoying myself. It wasn't until like almost a year or two after I thought about it again, I was like, yeah, it was kind of fixed. How I see it, if the president of that club wins something, then there's something really wrong. When judges win something, there's something very wrong. But again, I'm not going to have a rant against these guys. I don't really care. They mean fucking nothing to me. Like, but that's where I kind of saw the river counter in its gory glory. If you get me, not the helpful river counter. Now there was 1 or 2 guys who were there who were very helpful and very quick to give you tips and tricks and all that. And like that's what you want. You want guys who are sharing their experience and not shitting on you. Kind of going, oh, that's wrong. Blah 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 blah. Your antenna is 2 millimeters taller than it should be. Blah 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 blah. It's just like, if you're telling me that's the only thing that you can find to disqualify me is that my antennas are slightly too long or slightly too wide, but the rest of the model is grand. I get it, the model show, but that's just looking for reasons to exclude guys rather than looking for reasons to include. You know what I mean? You're meant to be looking for reasons to let guys win the second thing, not for reasons to kind of go. But yet then if the boys from the model club enter something, they throw medals at them. And I don't know why I'm in a ranty mood today. I just am. Today was house was a bit of a madhouse for most of the day. And it probably will be that way again tomorrow. And the weather isn't that nice out. And someone's kind of annoying me a little bit. Not in the community, just outside, real world. So, that's just the way it goes. I can't always control these things, unfortunately. If I can get this to fit, I'll be doing alright. But, yeah. And I'm not quite sure I'm going to publish this video or not because there's a lot of ranting and raving, and I don't know if this is really appropriate to put up, but we'll see. I mean, I try to get a video up every 2 or 3 days at least, you know what I mean, just keeps interest afloat, and that's how I like to do it. There we go. That's really it anyway. So I'm just going to finish up adding the spokes or the mounting hard points for the suspension swings. Then I'm going to stop this video, continue on myself, and come back when I have a little bit more of the running gear done, because I don't really want to kind of make 5 videos of me just working on this part alone. It will drive you all a bit mental. I'll keep ranting. I'll end up insulting someone by saying something completely like unattended, like, you know what I mean, that someone will like unattendedly take offense to or whatever, because like I'm in one of those humours when I get a bit blunt and a bit stupid. So I'm going to bid you all a good day. Enjoy your weekend. Best of luck. I hope you're enjoying any modelling projects if you got any going for the weekend. And I'll talk to you all very soon. Thanks for listening to me babble on for the last 30 odd minutes. You're often good for listening to me. So thanks again so much. I'll see you all very soon. Stay safe, happy modelling, and watch out for those buses. Bye bye.